Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the new world. Indeed, today I bring you a game of Age of Empires 3, which is not from PK Clan Tournament 4. This is a regular game of Age of Empires 3, and it is, well, fancy that, a regular game of Age of Empires 3. A regular high-level game of Age of Empires 3, I might add. It is between Chusik and Hacke, both good players. And this is what I used to do. Well, still do, I suppose. But basically, I had a series, by series I mean playlist really, of videos which I called the ongoing AoE 3 commentary series with Interjection, and this is of course a continuation of that series because, well, that's what I was doing before PK Clan Tournament 4 happened, and then I decided to make a new series, playlist, for of course PK Clan Tournament 4, and that was all good. Added lots of videos to that, currently doing the finals, it's coming to a close. This is what we are going to return to, so I thought we'd break up the tournament games with just a regular game, just to tell everyone what's going on. But there is still an astronomical amount of games to be played. Oh, 80 food over here, not too bad. Really nice start, actually, for the Dutch player. He's got 50 coin and a 40 coin treasure here as well, which he's now grabbing, 30 coin. So not starting with those food treasures, which is kind of preferable as Dutch, since of course your settlers cost coin. You'd rather start with more coins, so you don't have to collect that coin. And as you can see here, probably just going to collect... He's getting all the coin he needs for the 16 settler age up. Just going to grab that last 100 coin and then switch this guy back to food there. Over-collected on 1 coin, but that's really not an issue. But yeah, there's tons of games left in PK Clan Tournament 4 for me to cast. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, of course, finish the finals, and then we'll go back and redo, well, not redo, I haven't done them yet, but certainly cast some of the games that were played, well, at the time that I didn't actually cast, because there was just so many of them that it was just unrealistic to cast all of them. And yeah, we'll go over some of the high-profile games, you know, like the semi-finals, quarter-finals, that kind of thing, whatever you want to call them. Now going in for his 80 food, really nice, and of course that envoy really helping him scout the map out really nicely, sending 3 settlers now. We'll switch over to Crooked Teeth, who is of course Hacke, and hasn't done that much scouting, as you can see. Very big difference, and that's where the Ottoman really don't do so well early on, because they usually build this trading post, and he's not put it in the middle of the map here, and that is because, well, on TAD you will almost always get the XP from building it in the middle, but on vanilla sometimes that's a lot more risky, and it just doesn't always pay off, since of course you build it here, and maybe the Traveller's Man will walk past it after it's been, well, before it's been constructed, so that you don't actually get the XP. And that's not good. So, less risky to build it here. And, yeah, because, well, I suppose if, if it was now just coming past and you didn't manage to get the XP, he'd go all the way around the map, and then, of course, he spawns here again. And if you built it just here, like, just went straight for the first one in your base, then you'd get it. But if you hadn't built that, then you'd have to walk all the way there, and it just delays your 3 settlers and slows you down here. Going for 45 XP, not too bad at all. But yeah, off the back of PK Clan Tournament 4 as well, you know, I'm going to cast all these other games, but of course I actually want to cast the PK Clan Tournament 3 finals as well. I think that would be a lot of interest in those games, since of course, well, this guy are playing again. He got to the finals of the third tournament, and I think, I don't know, I expect a lot of people will have seen those games, but it'd be nice to relive them, and since off the bat, I think there'd be a lot of interest, because we've just finished this tournament. But I suppose I ought to introduce the players. Well, I've already kind of done that, but we've got Hacke in the south of the map, as you can see, playing as the Ottoman, as you've probably worked out from the comments I've made so far. And of course, the Dutch player as well, he's Chusik, and Chusik emailed this to me. He does that every now and again when he plays a good game, and I kind of asked him to as well, so thanks to Chusik. My email address for Age of Empires is AOE3, well, no, I think not AOE3, but AOEinterjection@gmail.com. So if you want to send me things for like the AOE3 coaching series, then that is the email address to do it on. So yeah, there's that. But this Dutch player, of course, laying down a bank now, he's collected himself 350 food and 350 wood, and of course that's enough for a bank. And Dutch, one of the civilization bonuses is that they have banks that generates about the equivalent of 4 settlers worth on coin. So that's really useful, and of course he's going to go up with the 400 wood politician as well, and that's enough wood for 2 banks. Well, actually, no, well, yeah, that would be enough wood for the second bank. And his first shipment, we'll see what it is, but sending now 700 wood, and that's a very solid shipment for the Dutch, because it's enough wood for 2 more banks, right? So in total he could have 4 banks out of all of this wood, but most likely we'll only go for 3, and we'll use the remainder of the wood to build perhaps a barracks and a house, or some houses, and a market perhaps if he wants one. That kind of thing, and yeah, but really, really interesting matchup, actually, because the Ottoman against the Dutch, I mean, on vanilla, Ottoman is really, really strong. Well, actually, no. Even on TAD, Ottoman is really, really strong. So, what will the Ottoman do? I mean, certainly they do have a solid rush, and that is, I think, what everyone associates Ottoman with. And I think, actually, we're going to see a rush, since, of course, we have this forward barracks over here. But actually, he's put down a native trading post, and apparently he's not going to finish it, but I imagine he'll go back. That's probably a mistake. He'll go back and finish it in a moment. But we'll see what his next shipment is. Of course, he's just sent 700 wood. That's usually you might send 700 wood, and you could put down perhaps another barracks or an artillery foundry with that wood. And, of course, I think against Dutch, well, you can't just mass one unit because, well, in any game, really, Janissaries are just one unit. It's quite easy to counter. You usually have to kind of have a composition. And Abbas guns are really, really solid, really, really good unit, but not going for those today. And I think, well, especially against Dutch. I mean, the Dutch gets, of course, the skirmishes, which are quite effective. And here he's coming in to do a little bit of fighting. We'll see how many settlers he can, of course, kill. But the Native American treaties is a really, really good shipment, actually, if you're prepared to kind of invest or into a Lakota settlement, and of course a Cheyenne one as well. Here we see coming in, hasn't actually shot any settlers now going to shoot these ones here. Actually, and instead of shooting the ones around the town center, he's actually going to shoot the ones that are not, of course, around the town center, because these ones can just jump into the town center really easily and will probably not take that much damage, but the ones quite far away. But here he's gone idle and is actually focusing down that house by mistake, and now he's taking lots of damage, of course, from pikemen, town center fire, and the hero there. He really needs to get out and actually only now just noticing, and of course, pikemen won't normally engage Janissaries because actually they suck versus anything that isn't cavalry or a building, since of course they have a lot of siege damage. But since there are so few and he's got the cover of his town center fire, he can actually engage there, and now going to retreat since of course there are plenty of, well, actually 5 more Janissaries have just joined. But here we see 4 plus another 4 Lakota Axe Riders. There's 8 of them, and you only get 4 from this, of course, Native American treaties. The shipment, you get 4 Lakota Axe Riders from here, and when you get the Comanche up as well, you get 4, and that is, well, 4 Comanche horse archers, and that is why that shipment is so strong, because you get 8 military units for one shipment, though of course you do have to commit to building trading posts here. But actually all of those pikemen are going to go down, and I think he actually preemptively sent the pikemen. Maybe he saw that Hacke was putting up a native post, and you can see that by in the top right where you can see there's a trading post and 2 Native American symbols, and that is of course the trading posts here. But all the pikemen going down, preemptively sent them, I think, to deal with cavalry, and now he doesn't really have anything to handle all of these Lakota Axe Riders, and they're just going to tear through his skirmishes. Those Minutemen are certainly not going to last forever. Now we see more units coming in, and this is the power of a native rush. It is just so fast. You just have so many units so quickly. I mean, Abbas and Janissaries is, in my opinion, probably a better combination, but it certainly isn't as damn quick. And this is like, I mean, it actually doesn't look as bad as you would think, because the town center has a 1.5 times multiplier against cavalry in vanilla Age of Empires 3, and he's probably using that to deal quite a lot of damage to the cavalry, well, the hand cavalry, that is. And the remaining cavalry that we see is actually ranged cavalry, similar to the dragoon / cavalry archer style unit that is, of course, countered by skirmishes. Skirmishes have a times 2 multiplier there, and he's actually going to do reasonably well. So actually, that town center, I think, if Red's army management was perhaps slightly better, if he was maybe to get those cavalry into combat with the skirmishes much quicker and deal a lot more damage to them, then that could have been more effective here. But actually, Chusik being able to repel that quite nicely, especially with the stacking the town center. But I'm a little bit concerned about how much damage it was actually done. If we switch over to Crooked Teeth, well, sorry, if we switch over to Chusik, we'll see. He sent, of course, 8 pikemen. That's already 1 shipment he didn't really want to send, and he sent that, of course. You really want to conserve those as best as you can, but he had so many cavalry to deal with that, you know, fair enough that he lost them. But yeah, against killing like Janissaries and stuff, you want to avoid that. In the particular circumstance, that was fine, but really, you know, you don't want to be replacing your pikemen. You want to send those 8 pikemen, and hopefully they'll carry you for the rest of the game, really, until you hit up to Fortress, and that is, by the way, what this guy is trying to get to, since, of course, really, really solid Fortress deck, and the Dutch, you know, have such a good economy in Age 2 due to the banks. There's only managed to get 2 up. I was hoping, perfect, well, ideally he'd have 3, but, you know, he's actually sent Colonial Militia as well, so not only has he denied his bank, or some of his banks, he's actually a shipment down as well, and because he sent Colonial Militia, which isn't really something he'd want to do. And Fortress is definitely going to be delayed here. I think the Ottoman player doing some reasonable kind of damage, certainly affecting his build, but here a little bit concerning, perhaps getting the settlers in the way of the cavalry there, so the skirmishes can be protected. But actually, is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the use. Maybe that was a misclick, but certainly those settlers are going to go down. It's not too good. However, the skirmishers are able to escape away from the cavalry, and the town center, which of course has Colonial Militia, making it 50% more effective at countering cavalry, is going to be focusing down all of these well, he's going to be using that to kill off Lakota Axe Riders and Hussars and things like that, but certainly losing a lot of skirmishers. And I think, actually, like, the point of building a wall, I mean, building a wall Actually, he's not too bad now. He's focused down all the cavalry, and I think the Ottoman push actually being, like, backfired twice in a row. This isn't looking too good for the Ottoman. He really, I think, needed to do a little bit more damage, and certainly, again, those cavalry not getting onto the skirmishes quite as quickly. But, yeah, the point in this wall is, well, yeah, it doesn't protect him, as it's not a full wall, but it stops, say, Janissaries coming up to the coin mine settlers and just shooting them, because they can't, that's not, like, quite enough range. They have to instead go around the wall, which gives you more time to respond to perhaps that kind of raid, and that is the point of the wall. And also you can build a gate, say on this one that I've selected here or here, and then you can send the set, you know, if the cavalry try to engage your skirmishes, you just walk through the wall, and then the cavalry can't get you, and he didn't do that, but that is certainly something you can do with a wall, though ideally you don't really want to be spending 50 wood. Now sending 700 food, actually, and I ought to switch over to the Ottoman player, but we'll just briefly talk about this food, because normally it's not a good shipment. I mean, 700 food is food is the fastest gathering resource, so really you don't want to be shipping it, and certainly other resource shipments are better, but as Dutch, you have access to a lot of coin as it is, say from the banks and such, which, by the way, he's only got 2 of. If you're going up to Fortress, and I think this food is to help him get up to Fortress, and of course, with it, yeah, he's got a lot. You usually have more coin, but ideally he'd have more banks, and he doesn't have that. I think his Fortress Age push is going to be not so strong, but then again, perhaps the Ottoman player needed to do more damage early on. We'll switch over to him, see what he's doing. He could be... he could have something. Yeah, we'll analyse that and whether or not he'll be able to push in and how effective he'll be against the Dutch player. But yeah, that food going to help him age up, and I think it's okay to send food as Dutch because, well, if you're playing defensive, you don't have a lot of food as it is. Sometimes that's not normally a problem, but it can be. But also, you know, you have a lot more coin, and that food is certainly going to help you even out your resource piles and perhaps get you up to the Fortress Age when you otherwise wouldn't be able to. But we'll switch over now to Crooked Teeth. He's now sending 700 food, which is by no means a good shipment, but certainly a lot of settlers on wood, and I think the thing is, well, of course he has. He has a decent amount of Lakota Axe Riders. He's training some now. He's been training Lakota Axe Riders, and we'll talk about how, well, whether or not that is good, but... Yeah, well, he sent Native American treaties, as we saw, and that got him a really, really fast push, and he could have done a bit more damage, I think, but certainly caught the Dutch player off guard, and he sent 3 Hussars, 5 Janissaries, that kind of thing, to keep that push going, and he's been able to send 700 wood and 600 wood, which normally you'd perhaps spend on your economy. You can get trading posts, market upgrades, or perhaps just add in more houses so that your settlers don't have to collect that wood, but he's actually been able to use that wood like to transform it into military, and that is, I suppose, one of the benefits of a native rush, since you can transform wood into perhaps an aggressive resource into military units, when otherwise you'd normally only use food and coin for that. But this composition, whilst it was very quick at the start, is suffering now, because the Dutch player, ideally, Ottoman would be in, like, pressuring him with, say, Abbas guns and Janissaries. The Abbas guns do really actually quite well against skirmishers, and then you can really pick things off, and since if you're hanging around his base, he can't collect resources. If you were, like, here with your army, then you could perhaps start sieging this bank or harassing these settlers, but, you know, with the cavalry, he can't do that, and he's just been massing up. He's came in once, repelled, came in twice, repelled. Here comes his third and final, well, I don't know if it's his final push, but certainly coming in with a third push, and we'll switch over to, of course, Chusik. He's got his 9 Reuters in queue. He's just literally hit up to the Fortress Age, and this is I suppose, one of the optimal times to kind of push in, because if now you come in and focus down this TC, you might be able to get it down in time before the 9 Reuters arrive, and this is normally not a good idea at all. And we see here all of the, of course, cavalry trying to get into combat with the skirmishers, but the skirmishers jumping into these small cracks, and this is the way you build your base with lots of civilizations, especially Dutch. You need to build, like, to have these kind of pathing issues so that cavalry can't get through, and he's but now the cavalry are through. They're doing a lot of damage. 5 Reuters pop out of the stable there. Again, he could use the wall over here to get away from the cavalry, but didn't do that. But normally you'd never focus down a town centre, losing a lot of skirmishers. And the reason, oh, they pop out just in time. I was really getting a little bit concerned that they might not be able to. But normally you'd never focus down a town centre, and that is because, of course, well, if you don't kill it, it's just such a waste of your time, and you lose so many units. And then if their military unit shipment pops out in combination with Minutemen, of course he has already sent his Minutemen, then you really just get owned, and it's better to kind of focus down the houses or even a military building, which you can guarantee to actually kill. You might not be, you might get half the health of the town centre down and not actually kill it, but anyway, back in the game here, we see these units going into hand combat with the skirmishers, and actually, since he's managed to get into hand combat and slow them down, he's been able to do a really good job of actually killing them. Now going to move on to those, of course, settlers, and he doesn't have, of course, pardon me, a spawn point for things to arrive at. There's absolutely no way his military shipments are going to arrive. And, well, yes, the Dutch fortress isn't about shipping tons of shipments, as, say, it is with perhaps the Spanish one or even the Ottoman fast fortress, but having that really nice economy to train units here, and he's got a reasonable mass of Reuters. He's very lucky that that shipment was able to pop out, and if it hadn't, if that town centre had gone down, then these Reuters wouldn't have arrived, and honestly, the game, he would be in such a sticky spot. But yeah, certainly getting those settlers back to work now, and he's going to most likely put up a tower so he can start sending shipments again, since it acts as, of course, a spawn point. He does kind of have the units here to repel this, and I think the Ottoman player ought to try and escape, but then again, he can't, because at this, Reuters move quite quickly. They move faster than the Janissaries do, so the Janissaries are going to have to stand and fight. There's no way they can escape, since if they try to run, then the Reuters will just catch up. And Reuters are by no means very effective against Janissaries. In fact, Janissaries are probably stronger. In fact, yeah, definitely stronger. But, if you have a decent mass of them, then you can kill them. I don't think he'll want to engage that. Reuters aren't like Dragoons. They're like half the effectiveness of a Dragoon. But yes, now popping up, of course, that outpost. And as I said, the Dutch economy is, the Dutch fortress age is about their economy having the banks, but he's only managed to get 2 up. And really, it's not so good for him, because, of course, he's not going to have as many units coming out now, and certainly he's lost his town centre. He's in a really awkward spot, but we'll switch over to the Ottoman player again, I suppose. But before we do, sending 8 skirmishers, you have a few options now without a town centre, and one is to just commit to the game without the town centre, which is I think, what he's doing, and probably a good idea, because the Ottoman economy, it's not great, but certainly it's better than his, I would imagine, at the moment, aside from the 2 banks. I guess we'll just create, 25 settlers, really not too bad at all, and if the Ottoman can just continue to mass units, and if you're spending time not massing units, and instead building your town centre, then he'll come in and then crush you again. But you have the other option to just use the economy that you have to train the units, and certainly coming in to do some raiding here, actually not too bad at all. Going to make use, of course, of those units, putting them into hand combat, because, of course, settlers resist 30% of range damage, and they don't resist hand damage, so handed damage is, in theory, more effective. Now going to retreat there, since, of course, the Janissaries have arrived. But, yeah, by the looks of it, he's going to just start training units, and so he can kind of push out and pressure the Ottoman player, and at some point, yeah, he'll send 1,000 wood and he'll get his town centre up. But collecting, so you either have that option to commit to the fight without a town centre, or you just go all in and get that town centre back up ASAP, which I think in this position is not good. But he is also in a bad spot. His economy's not great. The Ottoman player is off to a fairly okay start, though you can't argue with his score. He's at 108 score points. The Ottoman is at 90, but yeah, we'll switch over to the Ottoman player, and as I said earlier, was using the wood shipments to perhaps train more native units, where normally you perhaps send 700 coin and 600 coin to perhaps train more Abbas guns, which are very effective, and as I said, Abbas guns would help you pressure a bit better. Certainly not quite as quickly, but I think are probably a stronger combination. So if we take the metagame, you might not expect an Ottoman to... Well, I suppose you can expect it, and obviously I think actually Chusik did. He saw the native post going up and sent 8 pikemen preemptively, though he might have that been part of his build anyway, since of course... oh my lord, goodness, they sent the Lakota dog soldiers from, of course, the Lakota trading post, and these cost 500 food, 500 wood. This is unique to Nilla. You can't do this on the Cheyenne settlements, but you can on the Lakota ones. You get 1 dog soldier for each 3 minutes each time the game has passed, and he's like, Chusik knows it. He can't fight that. He's going to have to just get the Reuters out of there. I mean, he could come around perhaps to the other side and avoid the Janissaries and try and kill off as many of the Lakota dog soldiers as he can, but these cavalry units have 730 hit points a pop, and really, he is just going to use the cavalry to just so easily bring down Chusik's skirmishers, and once they're down, this is a huge loss of value, and really, Hacke, the red player, is not losing anything for doing this, and now, suddenly, a really, really strong position just being able to kill that skirmisher mass, and really, how is Chusik honestly going to be able to deal with such a large Janissary mass? Like, a Janissary mass that big is scary, because Janissaries have so many hit points, they're hard to deal with as is, and without skirmishes you can't do it. Reuters are not strong enough, so we're going to have to switch over to him and see what he's doing. We see, of course, 600 coin now being sent from Chusik. He has commit to this full colonial... Not from Chusik, this is from Crooked Teeth, the red player. He's gone for this full colonial build. Almost every colonial aid shipment has been sent now. He's going to have to go up to Fortress at some point if he wants to continue to send shipments. And if he does that, then, of course, he's going to be letting off the pressure. It is, however... a lot of Reuters here. I don't think he's going to want to engage that, at least, because Chusik, he does, however, have Black Riders, which apparently I have only just noticed, and those are really, really strong. Of course, it is a mercenary shipment that Dutch have access to, as you can see here. He sent it, costs 1,000 coin. They're very, very strong anti-cavalry units that actually, I suppose, can stand up to Janissaries. Certainly not a cost-effective way of doing it, but they have such power, and I think they can. The thing is, though, ideally you want to use them against the cavalry, and the cavalry aren't in that fight, and I don't blame them. They're not really going to do very much, but certainly if the Ottoman player can just focus down the units, like make sure he's going to, instead of, you see that low HP Black Rider, if he can like avoid stuff like that, actually finish units off, then the damage output decreases, and I think a Janissary mass would actually do really, really, really well in terms of cost efficiency against what Chusik has there. But continuing to train apparently Reuters, not adding in any skirmishes, and I think what you ought to consider training more skirmishes, and of course to counter Janissaries, and really he's got such a large anti-cavalry mass that he's kind of safe. It's just so unfortunate that he lost his skirmishes, and he has the option, I suppose, to build Lakota himself and kind of finish that, well, go for Lakota himself, as I said. Certainly be quite strong. Not so great against Janissaries, but still Lakota with like 730 hit points on a unit, really, really good, especially for the amount that they cost. And still no town centre, so he's slowly going to be kind of falling behind. But actually, this guy, the Ottoman player, hasn't put up a mosque. He's sent, by the looks of it, Lakota hunting grounds, or Cheyenne hunting grounds if you're on the Asian dynasty. Same shipment, really, but you get a bunch of bison next to your town centre. But I'm going to point out, he's got 25 settlers here, and it's not, he's at his build limit. He's not going to be training anymore. He needs to think about, of course, expanding the build limit. So both players just stagnated economies, and really, I think the Ottoman player should be getting ahead in terms of economy, because the Dutch does not have a town centre, and he only has 2 banks, which, you know, really he probably want 3, even 4, but only managed to get 2, and it's now at this point, where do you find the opportunity to invest in a bank? Because if you stop trading units, then your opponent's going to walk in. He has a huge anti-cavalry mass. Perhaps they're now going to head out and do some raiding, which is definitely not a bad idea, but up against Janissaries, then it's, I don't know, I just think Janissary mass would do reasonably well. I think, though, this game is certainly an interesting one. Early on, I think more damage could have been done, though, by the Ottoman player. Certainly, he killed a lot of settlers when those settlers got in the way of the cavalry. Just a little bit of skirmishing going on here. But some settlers got in the way of some cavalry, I think, maybe to block the pathing, but possibly not. But maybe it was a misclick, as I pointed out. But lost a bunch of settlers there. Of course, a few settlers to the Janissaries really, really early on. And forced Chusik into sending colonial militia, which reminds me, he never actually sent those Minutemen, which you have access to, the second set, which costs 400 coin, 400 wood. Sorry, 400 coin, 400 food. Perhaps he didn't have the resources. But actually, okay, this player now actually sending his final colonial age shipment. This is of no use to him now, unless he gets the trading route up, because it increases the amount of resources your resource shipments have by 30%, except he sent them all. It does increase, of course, the upgraded trading route bounties. Instead of getting 130 food or coin or whatever, you get 30% more on that too. But yeah, it doesn't have the trading site either, and you know, the Ottoman player perhaps, I think, ought to have invested in the trading route at some point as well, and you know, getting that up is a nice inflow of resources. Definitely should have invested in a mosque at some point as well when you get close to your build limit, but then again, mosque is quite expensive, and you'd have to collect all of that wood from somewhere, and it means you'd stop training units. But now going to engage here, of course, bringing the axe rider, so the Lakota dog soldiers in to, of course, kill the skirmishers, but there are so many anti-cavalry units there that this just seems wasteful, but at the same time, you have to really bring all of your units into a fight anyway. I think there are just so many Reuters here that he should be fine, and there, of course, those skirmishers are still alive, all the cavalry are down, those, of course, trying to get closer and closer to these units, which keep walking away, luring them further and further forward. But ultimately, I think Chusik has got this, and if he will switch over to him, adds in that town centre at some point, then he should be okay, stacking up a lot of coin. And that, I would imagine, is going to be for the Hacke, well, for Swiss pikemen or Hackapel, since, of course, you've got plenty of mercenary shipments to choose from. Actually, I would think Swiss pikemen would probably be the best bet here, since you could then use those to do a lot of raiding. But then, he has already got a ton of anti-cavalry. Does he really need any more? So, maybe that. At the same time, you could send the religious freedom, which gives you access to... Actually, the Ottoman player losing all of his units here, I think... I don't know. I don't know if the Ottoman player... It was good, but perhaps it was better than what I could pull off, certainly. But at the same time, I think it could have been better. I do honestly hold to the opinion that Abbas guns and Janissaries are stronger, but that would be a very boring life, wouldn't it, if we didn't try things. But actually sending Hackapels, I was thinking perhaps he'd send Cap the Religious Freedom, and then at that, build a church, and then you can send a bunch of Stradiots for 1,000 coin as well, similar to a mercenary shipment, but not doing that either. Sending Hackapel, which is actually, I think, the worst mercenary shipment in the game. I think it will be okay in this game, but generally speaking, Hackapels have too few hit points to be effective and can easily be focused down. They do, however, have like 130 hand attack, which makes them like one-bang settlers. More Reuters being added in. Very, very, well, Reuters certainly, when massed up, can perform very, very well, and they move around the map so quickly they can do a lot of raiding, but honestly, skirmishers against Janissaries are also quite effective. I think, though, at this point, the Dutch player is actually quite far ahead. The economy has kind of stagnated, though, and I think a town centre certainly, well, maybe instead of collecting 1,000 coin and sending Hackapel, perhaps investing in a town centre would have been, at this point in the game, advisable, since his military is kind of stabilised. And he has the ability to do raiding and keep, of course, the red on his toes. He can kill, of course, all of the military settlers, and force the Janissaries to move around the map to defend from raids. So his economy, you know, the Dutch players' banks and stuff like that would be safe. But either way, instead of going for the economic route, I suppose Hackapels could end the game here and now. Of course, they're now going to come in. They have a huge amount of hand attack, and really, yeah, we see the red player instantly responding very quickly, putting them in hand mode, moving that cavalry away, as you can see, so all of the Janissaries follow, and so that the rest of the Hackapels can do lots of damage. But again, when a Hackapel is moving, that is the end of the game, by the way. Chusik taking the victory there. Nice job. Really, really nice game, actually. Native Rush is really something you don't see very often, and it's nice to see one. But again, these Hackapel, when they're not attacking, they're losing out on damage, since they are just have such huge damage. But that is the victory there for the Dutch player. I think, well, both players, as I said, could have done some things differently, as I pointed out, at various points in the game, but really, really nice game. Again, both players certainly a lot stronger than me as players. I will point that out, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but yeah, I can have my own opinions, I suppose. Thank you very much for watching, indeed. We will get back, of course, to PK Clan Tournament for the finals commentary in the following video, but I would like to thank you all for watching, and again, I will see you next time.